welcome everyone to the second episode of the Beautiful Boycast, coming to you live from our homes. And today we've got a very, very fun conversation for you guys. Last time we talked about Nintendo. Today we're going to be talking about PlayStation as well as Sony and their first-party offerings. So real quick, I'll introduce you guys to everybody who's here in the podcast. Again, my name's Nathaniel. I'm probably going to piss off a couple of people today with some of my opinions, but we've also got a couple of other wonderful people.
I'm Rick, and I'm almost as jaded as Nathaniel is about this.
Wonderful. We also have Jamie, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and I'm probably the most excited about this.
Jamie is our resident PlayStation expert. And by
Expert.
by expert, I mean totally biased. But we also have one final person. You know him, you love him. He's the rebel type. Go ahead and
I'm just mining crabs, guys.
He's playing RuneScape right now.
Dakota the crab miner.
I gotta do these dailies, man. We are good. We are good.
Okay. Well, guys, before we start talking, because this is mainly going to be about software, let's real quick, let's cover some hardware from Sony. Not the one that I know one of us wants to talk about, but real quick, I know we all have PlayStation 4s. What are your thoughts on the PlayStation 4? Just the main system that was launched about 4 years ago now.
I think it's purty.
I like it because it's just a game system. Nothing fancy. It's just bigger, better, stronger, and uncut.
I think the system itself it's a great little piece of hardware. You know, it's no PS2, but it's getting there.
I will say that I hate the slants when I'm trying to plug in things to the back of it will blind. That makes it a nightmare.
Yeah, it's definitely a good system, but I think it's also a very basic system. Nothing really fancy or special really going on about it or under the hood.
Yeah, it's just bigger and better.
All right. Well, I know, of course, we have the PlayStation 4. Last year, though, we did get some new hardware as well. Both the PlayStation VR and the PlayStation Pro launched last year. What are your
Only
guys'
a couple weeks apart from each other, too.
Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on either one of those?
Well, I picked up a PS4 Pro on day one, and I've been really happy with it. But I'm also really big in the PC gaming as well. I have a GTX 1080 in my PC, so I always like having the biggest and the bestest. So I like my higher frame rates and my higher resolutions. That's important to me. And I bought a 4K TV to go along with my Pro as well when I first got it.
No, I picked the Pro up. I think it's fine. Part of me thinks it's a completely unnecessary half-step console, but, you know.
The only thing I don't like about the Pro is that, especially in certain games, that thing gets loud, like crazy loud. I can't stand it sometimes.
Like a jet turbine?
Yeah, it gets really bad sometimes, especially when you're on menus for some reason. It's a common issue in a lot of games when you're on a menu. It's like it doesn't cap the frame rate or something, and it just starts taking off like a jet when you sit on just a blank menu.
Yeah. Overall, though, the PlayStation 4 Pro, I mean, I think for most people, it is that like you guys said, it's a half step.
Yeah. But it's certainly something that is going to become the standard. You know what I mean? Like, because we're getting more 4K TVs, that's becoming more adopted. So, in fact, I have a 4K TV.
Do you mean that the PlayStation 4 Pro in and of itself will become more standard, or that half steps will become more standard?
What I would say is the base of 4K, like the next that would be the next basic, right? It's just the Xbox and the PS4 picking up where the industry is.
I do want to talk about the PlayStation VR very, very briefly.
Yeah, Rick, tell us about VR.
But hold on, give me a second. Jeez. But before I get there, what do you guys think is next? Do you think that we're going to see another half step console after the PlayStation 4 Pro that'll still be part of this generation of gaming, or do you think we'll see a PlayStation 5 or whatever? And I guess, when do you expect it as well?
This will be the only improvement one. There'll be refinements to it, like a PS4 Pro Slim and an Xbox One X Slim. But
Oh God, those names.
yeah, whatever they're gonna be, but there's not gonna be like the Xbox One Z.
The Xbox One X2.
Yeah, it'll be like the slim versions of them. They'll be quieter and more power efficient. And when they do make a quieter Pro, I will probably grab that because it needs to be quieter.
Yeah, I agree with Rick. You'll probably just see one more slim iteration of the base PS4, a Slim Pro, and then you'll see PS5 in like 2021, 2020.
I'd say we're probably somewhere right in there. I don't know if we would really have a PS4 Pro Slim 2 or something like that. But I certainly see them maybe being like, okay, it's still a little bit faster, it just runs a little bit better, but it's quieter, it's smaller, and it costs less. Right? They just refined the fact that they went to the Pro.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm kind of in that same ballpark as well. I think that we won't see anything, but I'm a little more skeptical. I think at the earliest we'll see a PlayStation 5 in maybe 2021. Sony, in and of itself, seems to be, at least currently, more focused on more online aspects as opposed to its hardware going forward. So I think that they're going to push that back and really stretch this generation out as long as they can.
Because you also don't want to like invest all this time and money into a dead or dying system, you know?
Yeah, I think that they're kind of like what we're seeing games as services. I think that Sony is looking into maybe not necessarily hardware, but some sort of format going forward as a service as opposed to a one-time purchase. But before we move on to software, really quickly, like I mentioned before, let's talk about the PlayStation VR, which came out of the gate, I think, with a lot of hype behind it as sort of this middleware VR headset for consoles. And I feel like since it came out last fall, it's we just haven't heard much about it outside of maybe one or two big games that used it. What are your guys' thoughts on this headset?
Well, I have a decent amount of experience with the PSVR. I played it, I think pretty much right around near launch, and I played a lot of the big launch games. Like I played Until Dawn, and I played Resident Evil 7. I also played that completely in VR from start to finish. And there was a really big push when it first came out, and Resident Evil 7 was meant to be like the killer app for it, and it kind of was. It was really awesome in VR, but after that, it's pretty much been dead in the water, aside from Farpoint, which came, and as far as I can tell, people in the PSVR community really enjoyed Farpoint, but otherwise it's been slim pickings until the end of this year right here with Skyrim VR coming out and Doom VFR.
Yeah, Resident Evil kind of hit at the perfect time, just a couple of months after, all the software had been out. But as far as Farpoint, you mentioned the VR community, but I don't really think Farpoint made any headway across the broader spectrum of gaming.
Oh, no, it didn't make a splash or anything. It was pretty much just everyone inside the PSVR community enjoyed a lot on the PSVR subreddit, which can kind of be a little bit too optimistic at times, but overall it seemed like everyone in the PSVR subreddit really enjoyed Farpoint.
So what you're saying is it didn't make people go out and get VR, but the people that had VR was like, oh, this is a nice treat.
Now, I don't think Farpoint's going to do that, but I do think that Skyrim VR is going to make that happen a little bit more, especially at the Black Friday sales. I see a lot of people deciding to jump on VR and just browsing forums and threads. I see a lot of people deciding to jump on with the release of Skyrim VR and also the Black Friday discounts on the headset.
Okay.
Wow. I mean, is it really that much of a selling point to have Skyrim in VR? I mean, I'm not really a fan of VR personally. I think that it's going to be something that's more niche, but is Skyrim like really that big? A game that's now 6 years old.
No.
From what I've
I
seen,
don't.
the people that do play it in VR really like it. Like there was an article on Polygon, I think, or maybe it was somewhere else, but they're basically saying that they played Skyrim in VR and it was awesome and super immersive and all that. But it is a 6-year-old game that everyone owns about 5 copies each. I think everyone in the world has about 5 copies of it now. So it's not as big of a push as it could have been, but it seems like people enjoy it when they do play it, but I don't know how much of a push it's going to be. I just know it's probably going to
Yeah.
move some things, but
Interesting.
Part of me
What about?
wonders if people will just pick Skyrim up on the novelty, like with Skyrim on Switch. Everybody that's played it has, but at this point, you're just getting it for novelty.
Just
it's
have it again.
it's
Mhm.
really cool because it's the only other really big proper like quote real game for VR, because there's Resident Evil 7 and Skyrim. Those are like the only 2 real games. Like they're not
Yeah.
they're
They're
not
not just-
VR games. They're real games that have VR, kind of, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, not to
Yeah.
make any VR fanboys angry, but from what we've seen, it almost feels like shovelware outside
Oh,
of these big releases.
I've used a lot of PSVR, and I've also used the HTC Vive, and the majority of the stuff that I have played has been kind of techno-ish. They're impressive, but they're not like real games from what I've seen on the Vive and the PSVR for the most part.
Yeah, that's all the thoughts I really have on hardware. Do you guys have anything else to say?
Mm-mm.
No, other than I kind of agree with Rick on the PSVR because I played it and it was cool, but there was no meaty things there. Nothing that made me want to buy one,
Well, if that's all we've got for hardware, let's move on to software. Specifically, we decided to do recent software. So everything that's come out in 2017.
Just for the record, this is just going to be Sony developed or published games, not just any
Yes.
exclusive.
Yeah.
So it's all going to
So
be
no-
Sony published stuff.
No Persona in this one. No Nia or no Nier, and no Yakuza games, and whatever else. I think we hit the year off pretty big, in general for 2017 on the Sony side. But obviously, the biggest game going into this year was Horizon Zero Dawn, a game we've all played, to some extent. Personally, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a good game, but it didn't change anything like another open world game we talked about on the last episode.
But as far as Horizon, I think everyone here really liked Horizon but me. I did not have a good time with Horizon.
Well, I think the what you would talk about or how you don't like it is the reason I liked it, at least for the 2 hours I played of it, Rick. Because for me, I've never played a Far Cry game. I never really got into those games that it's based on. So I was like, oh, this is cool to me. And then I remember you being like, oh, it's just Far Cry again.
Like, I have played a lot of Ubisoft games in general. I played a lot of Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, blah, 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 and they all have the same framework. And so when I play Horizon, all I see is the skeleton of an Ubisoft game. Like, nothing else pulls the illusion over my eyes. I just see Far Cry when I'm playing Horizon, and I get so bored.
I really enjoyed Horizon. I probably played it a very different way than, I guess, the standard. But I just did my typical open world stuff. I did the main quest, and then I looked up interesting side quests and things like that and did it. I enjoyed the game overall, though. It was a good, I think, 30, 35 hours that I ended up playing it. I had a good time. I haven't played the expansion yet. That's on my to-do list. That's pretty much it. I thought it was a really good open world game, but I don't think it was a game changer like, say, something like The Witcher 3, which was just so finely crafted that you overlooked those little open world things, or like Breath of the Wild, which just kind of flipped those concepts on their head.
Yeah, I think it was formulaic to the point where it brought the game down entirely for me. Like I said, all I saw was that gameplay loop of the Ubisoft games. I enjoyed fighting the large robots, but otherwise, because that was something new that was in there, but otherwise, it just felt like your standard open world game with bush stealth, capture the outpost, climb the tower, collect rabbit bones and boar pelts to increase your ammo capacity. It was a Far Cry to me, so I didn't really enjoy it. And
Yeah, so I ended up first of all, for people that don't know, Horizon comes from Guerrilla, and they did Killzone. I put 50 hours into Horizon. I got the platinum. I thought it was really well crafted. Surprisingly, the story was fairly well written. It was intriguing. And as they've mentioned, it's not necessarily the structure of the open world's not necessarily anything new. But what Horizon does do, it does really well, like the fast, sometimes difficult combat of fighting all the machines. I thought Aloy was a great character who going forward she'll probably replace Nathan Drake as the current face of PlayStation when the sequel rolls around.
I don't know if I'd go that far. PlayStation doesn't really have a face, but as far as playing it though, I mean, you got the platinum in it, which means you completed the game. I noticed while I was playing, the reason I didn't do that myself was just because of the vast amount of sort of token collectibles.
Yeah, because you have to collect the little statues, the vantage points. There's a lot of text collectibles, but they are not required for any kind of trophy completion, which is great.
For the most part, I think Horizon gets 3 beautiful boys out of 4. I'm excited to play the expansion, though, and you kind of mentioned it, Jamie. Mm-hmm. They are probably going to make a sequel if it hasn't already begun development.
I fully believe it was greenlit before Horizon even released. Sony had a lot of confidence when they were promoting and showing the game.
They did, even as far as making a special edition.
And if it's not obvious, I will not be playing the expansion. I beat it, and that was enough Horizon for me.
But let's move on to a couple of games that we either all didn't play or weren't all quite as big on. Knack 2.
Knack 2, baby!
Knack 2. First of all, how did that happen?
Yeah.
How in the did anybody else expect Knack 2 to be announced?
It's all because of what's his name, Mark Cerny? I forget his name, but the engineer for the PlayStation 4, the guy that created Knack. Whatever his name is, it's all because of him. He was like, no, I'm doing this. I made this system. I get to make whatever I want. I want Knack 2. I want Knack 2, baby.
Dude, that is not a good idea.
Actually, now that you mention it, I think Knack is I think that's the new face of PlayStation.
Shut the fuck up.
I think he is going to replace Nathan Drake.
No.
Knack Boy will replace Nathan Drake as the face of PlayStation.
Wait, does he even have a name? No, it's just Knack.
I don't know.
Knack is a meme. Knack isn't a mascot.
And look, all the commercials would be Knack, who's there?
Oh God! Damn it!
Knack 2 only came about because it was a launch game, and launch games typically sell, well, regardless of reception. I think that's the only reason we saw Knack 2.
So the next game that I've got for us to talk about, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. I think I'm the only one who's played that so far.
Yeah, I haven't played it.
Still haven't.
I wasn't in a rush to get it because by the time I finished Uncharted 4, I'm kind of tired of Uncharted, so I'm not in a rush to get it. And as far as I can tell, it's just more Uncharted. And yeah, I can only auto climb so many walls that explode before it's just not as magical to me anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely more Uncharted 4. At least from what I played of it, I was a little disappointed that it didn't have so many new locations. It was just one area, one sort of setting, which was a bit of a bummer. But there's some good things. There's especially the ending is probably the best part of the whole game. There's some great set pieces there.
I've never really got into Uncharted, so that's not my thing.
Damn shame.
I guess
I don't have much to say on Lost Legacy other than it's cool to see Chloe back.
I guess that's it for Lost Legacy.
Yeah, I can't say too much about just an expansion of, at least in my opinion, one of the best games of 2016. But we do have another new IP to talk about here. This one comes to us from Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja, and that is Neo. I haven't played this one
I
because I'm
think
not a
I'm the
huge
only
fan.
one that has.
I played the beta a little bit.
Yeah, I played one of the beta demos.
Yeah, it's Dark Soul Samurais. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I really, really like Samurai, so I was all in on Neo, and I got it day one, and it was pretty awesome for like the first 15, 20 hours. But then you see that there's a grand total about 3 different enemies in the game, and a lot of reused assets overall, and it just starts to get really boring, and I didn't end up finishing it. I enjoyed the time I had with it, but I started to really dislike it by the end, and so I stopped playing because I didn't want to hate the game. But anyway, it was pretty cool. Needs either
Needs work.
needs less length or more content to fill up that length, because it was basically everything was just palette swaps of enemies you'd already seen before, or like going through a level backwards instead of forwards this time, and there's a lot of that going on.
So less padding and filler, more actual game.
More fighting a samurai.
Yeah, actual game was fun. Being a samurai was fun. Would Soul Samurai again.
Next one I've got is, it's one that I keep forgetting about personally. Gravity Rush 2 actually came out this year.
I forgot I bought it.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was like, wait a second. I have that game. I bought it day one.
I played a decent amount of the first game. I haven't beaten it yet, though, and I plan to get Gravity Rush 2 at some point, but the demo really turned me off of it a lot, because there's a lot of technical problems with the demo. Like, everything felt like there was a lot of input lag on it, or there was just felt like bad frame pacing with the frame rate, and overall it just really killed the demo for me. But I still want to get it. I still want to play it, but I don't want to pay $60 for it. I'll pick it up when it's $20, and then I'll finish the first one, then play 2.
I enjoyed the first one. I played the remastered version on PlayStation 4. I thought it was a fun game, albeit one that didn't have a lot of depth, I guess is the best way to put it, which a sequel can fix perfectly. But I just haven't. I keep forgetting it exists. Like, it came out at the same time as Resident Evil 7 at the end of January, and it slips my mind every single time.
I liked what I played of the first one, but I'll eventually get to finishing it and then playing the second one. I like playing a cute girl that could float through time and space.
It's always a good premise for a video game.
Yeah. Plus, she had a cute little outfit.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Cat is adorable. Best part of Gravity Rush.
And what's the other one? I think is Raven?
Yeah.
Or Crow?
Yeah,
I liked her
she's
too.
Great too. Well, that's Gravity Rush. Great waifus.
That wraps us up for, I guess, 2017. Any other thoughts on just Sony published titles from this year? Anything that we didn't discuss, or anything else that you guys want to add in?
Not really.
You blew your load early with Bloodborne. Make Bloodborne 2. Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought this year for Sony was a little disappointing.
Thank God you have a stranglehold on the Japanese market.
Yeah, a lot of, mostly I feel like I played a lot of PlayStation 4 exclusives, but I feel like we're finally getting to this point to where Sony isn't making as many great PS4 exclusives, but some other Japanese developers are sort of picking up the slack.
I get so many good Japanese games this year. And since Japanese games are typically only made for the PlayStation, they've ended up with a lot of great exclusives, but not a lot of them are much directly involved with Sony themselves.
All right. Well, if that's all we've got, let's move on to, I guess, the final bit of our discussion here, where we're going to be talking about the software going forward on the PlayStation 4. We've got a handful of games that we're going to talk about that have already been announced. We might talk about some games that we want to see announced as well. But real quick, before we get into the games, I just want everybody's quick opinion. What does the current slate that Sony has, how does it look to you guys, each individually?
It's all right. Just from Sony themselves. Overall, what's coming up is for the PlayStation is pretty great, but just from Sony themselves, like Sony made games, it's all right.
I think I think this year was pretty good. And then we're gonna have to have some years where it's not, and then it can get better. But there's a couple things that I'm kind of looking forward to.
I think overall the slate is fine. There's a couple titles I'm worried about, so I'll need to see a little bit more of them to be sure. But overall, I'm excited, probably more than any of you.
Let's move on to what is on a lot of people's most anticipated list, and a
God of War.
game, a game that I have given my fair share of criticism to. God of War. I guess we're gonna have to call it God of War 2017 now.
Well,
2018.
Yeah, we would
Oh,
call it
2018. My
Yeah.
apologies.
Or we could just call it God of Norse.
God of Norse War.
And I'm gonna make Jamie mad,
Norse of
but
War.
I can't resist. I think God of War: The Last of Us looks cool enough. I'm interested,
God.
but
Rick, stop.
I really dislike the old style of God of War 2 and 3 and 1. They're really simple. They're fine. They're fun, dumb games, but I'm not really big into them as most people are. So this change up seems cool. God of War: Last of Us could be cool, but I don't know. Let's see.
Well, you kind of messed up when you just went on a rampage and killed gods, and then you just kind of ran out of gods to kill.
I'm more positive about it than Nathaniel is.
I really enjoyed the first God of War. I thought God of War 2 was still pretty good, and I felt like God of War 3 is where we jumped the shark in the series. And
Jump the shark or jump the ship or jump the shark ship.
that we jumped the shark god of whatever.
Okay.
But
There's a shark god.
Probably.
I didn't see it. It's whatever.
Since I played through God of War 3, I've always been very critical of the series because God of War 3 took a lot of really poor story choices, I felt like, and I felt like the gameplay wasn't improving. And I feel like God of War, this new God of War, it almost feels like this should be a spiritual sequel to God of War as opposed to another God of War game. I mean, they couldn't even give it a proper subtitle, for crying out loud. It feels like it's being God of War for the sake of being God of War.
Okay, I can see that.
And Jamie is on the opposite end of the spectrum than Nathaniel is, aren't you?
Yeah, I really kind of enjoy the series. Like Rick said, they're dumb fun. The main character kind of sucks. Kratos, can't really relate to him. But the changes I've seen with the new one, the change in camera angle, I don't want to say deeper storytelling, but it seems like they're focusing more on the storytelling, if that makes any sense, to try and actually make him like a character. I think it'll be great. I'm excited.
I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, Kratos is probably going to die at some point in the game, and the next game you're going to play is the kid.
Yeah,
No,
you're training
they've
your
said this
replacement.
is not the last game with Kratos. They have
don't think
said
it
that.
is? Oh,
No,
really?
Alright,
they've said that, yeah.
So they can fit into that, they'll make him die at the beginning of the second game.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
then
they
you'll play
can.
as the kid.
Or
Well,
They're
let's
just
be
going to
honest.
kill the kid at the end, and it'll be a God of War 2 and 3 next.
what's going to happen is they're going to kill Kratos, but then we're going to play the 16 games that were between.
Oh God, don't remind me.
No, they'll kill Kratos, but I mean, really, who gives a shit? He's died in every single God of War game and came back from literal hell. I mean, dying in God of War means absolutely nothing at this point. And slight spoiler warning for the end of God of War 3, Kratos fucking dies, and they drag him off, and you're like, what could happen? And you're like, who cares? He's come back from hell in every single game.
Personally, I wish the new God of War we're seeing was the game we got 5 years. It'll be almost 5 years when the new one comes out. I wish this was the one we would have gotten instead of Ascension. Ascension sucked.
Any other thoughts on God of War 2018?
Nah, I just kind of want to see some more of it because it looks kind of cool. Like,
I'm excited.
style-wise, but, I mean, it's going to be God of War. We know what we're getting into.
I like Norse mythology better than Greek mythology, so might be cool.
I certainly can't wait to mash square, square, triangle all
You
throughout
had to go there for
2018.
Jamie.
But let's move on to a game that I was incredibly worried about, but now I'm looking forward to the remake of Shadow of the Colossus. And Shadow of the Colossus is one of my favorite games of all time. I was very worried at first. I'm now looking forward to this game because I think that it's actually going to be enough of an improvement over the original without losing what that game had.
This remake is also coming from the people that did the HD collection of Shadow and Ico on PS3, Blue Point.
Blue Point makes all the best remaster collections. They also did Metal Gear, I believe. And
Yes.
but Shadow is also one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm really excited for the remake because it looks absolutely incredible, and it's only going to be $40. So I'm totally in. I don't have much to say about it, besides I really like it. Want to get in there. Like the price point. Really like the price point with a Prime discount. So I'm totally in.
And that brings us to today's sponsor, Audible, Amazon company.
Buy Amazon Prime.
I guess this Shadow of the Colossus remake does kind of bring up a point. Do you guys think that we'll see other remakes from classic PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 games like we've been seeing recently?
You know,
I do not think so. This is an attempt to recoup the money The Last Guardian lost.
Let's talk about that, because you're probably damn right there, boy.
Okay.
No, I mean, okay, I would be interested if this was the beginning of a trend, because I think we could take a lot of those really cool games from before and be like, hey, let's fix them and make them not aged like turds.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
I can see that. Yeah, we're sort of maybe we're leaving the remastered era of games that started like in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And we're entering the remake era because
I
we
hope
saw
so.
that we
I
saw
miss
that with
remakes.
Crash in a way with the Crash Bandicoot trilogy.
Yeah, I
Crash,
really miss remakes.
Final Fantasy VII, and Shadow are the big notable ones I can think of.
We're gonna get Final Fantasy VII, the worst game to ever be produced, because no one's gonna like it because it's not gonna live up to the hype.
Speaking of games that will never live up to the hype, Detroit Become Human.
You can suck a wiener on that one now.
Who let David Cage near a pen and paper again? He's supposed to be kept separate from them at all times.
We're supposed to keep him in the cage after God whatever he made. Speaking of which, Jamie, you're excited for this one.
And who let David Cage try to do and also not do, because he says it isn't, but it is, some kind of like racial segregation story, slavery story. Who let David Cage do that?
It's not racism if they're robots.
This is not going to be a story about racism. Also, cut to a poster saying "Rise up against the humans."
Okay, so real quick before we actually get into the story of it, can we just talk about how we've known about this for 5 years?
Yeah, it's been
Oh God,
it was supposed to. Yeah, there was a tech demo of this.
That was before they decided what they wanted.
Well, it was still a tech demo with the same name, with the same premise.
No, the tech demo was called Kara.
Yeah, guess what the girl's name is?
Is it actually Kara?
It is that character, dude. It is, yes,
Oh, wow.
It is that. Yeah, it is Kara.
Huh.
As far as I can tell, if I remember reading correctly, yeah.
Yeah, Kara.
So yeah, we've known about this game for quite some time now.
2012, 6 years.
Yeah.
wow.
And the demo was pretty cool when I saw it, because I was really into Heavy Rain at that time. I went and platinumed it, and then they came out with this. They were talking about like, this might be the next thing we focus on, and I was like, this is really cool. And the tech demo is kind of sad, and it looked good, and it was like, this is in development for PS3, and then
Yeah, that was a
back
PS3
and I'm like,
tech demo.
yeah, and I'm like, holy crap, it's a PS4 demo now, 5 years later. So, but I am interested in it only because I was really interested in Kara, that tech demo, as opposed to like Heavy Rain. I just platinumed it because I could.
I'm not a fan of David Cage, honestly. I've never really played through I guess his studio's games. I don't know a ton about him.
I played all of them. I hate all of them.
Yeah, I can't say. I have to say, if I'm not looking forward to God of War, I don't care about this one. I honestly was shocked that it didn't come out this year. I guess it's a lot like Gravity Rush 2. I just keep forgetting about it.
They haven't showed a whole lot, to be fair.
Let's move on to something that we do care about, I think, or that's at least partially interesting. And so far, all the games we've talked about are 2018 games. This last one that we're going to talk about is for 2018 as well. And then we're going to move on to games that currently don't have a release date. The last big one for 2018 that we know about is Spider-Man coming to us from Insomniac.
Surprising.
On a scale of caring, where do you sit?
I know Jamie's a total like 7 out of 5.
No, I'm like an 8 out of 10 on it. I think it'll be fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Anyways.
I'm probably like a 2.5 out of 5 excited for this. Too many QTEs. It, like, graphically, it looks incredible, but it'll just be an Arkham Spider-Man game. It'll probably be, like, cookie cutter AAA fun, but I'm not eager to get my hands on it.
I didn't even know it existed until like 2 days ago.
Oh my god.
So...
How did you miss that one?
How did you miss all of us talking about it?
It's because the game looked so good. The game looked so good, he thought it was the next Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
movie.
he just thought it was Homecoming. All the times we talked about Spider-Man, he thought we were just talking about Homecoming.
I was like, man, this is really weird. No, like I was like, there's a Spider-Man game coming out? Okay, I guess. No. What do you want me to say?
Well, Jamie, what do you have to say on it? Because you're our resident MCU fanboy extraordinaire.
Yeah, and you love the PlayStation 4, so this is like right up your alley.
I think Spider-Man looks fun. Like you guys were saying, it'll be like an Arkham clone, but with Spider-Man. I don't really know what to say other than I'm surprised that this is coming from Insomniac.
I think I'm more surprised that this isn't exclusive to PlayStation. Because I could have sworn Activision held the rights to the Spider-Man license.
No. When Disney bought all of that, the Activision license was gone.
Oh, okay.
See, it's a good thing we have our MCU expert here.
It definitely looks interesting.
What I want from it is and it looks like it will be, the combat to just be more acrobatic and just kind of more superhero-y, if that makes any kind of sense, than the Arkham games.
I know that a lot of people love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's had decent games in the past. I think it looks perfectly fine. I'm sure it'll be a perfectly fine game. I just have trouble getting excited for it, I guess, because it feels like a lot of what we've seen before, even if it is a really good version of what we've seen before. If that's all we've got for Spider-Man, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on to games outside of 2018, games that currently do not have a release date. And these are just what we know about, so they could announce new stuff here before the end of the year. They could probably announce stuff before this podcast even goes up.
We still have PSX to go, so...
Yeah, and the Game Awards.
And that.
Which normally that's going to have something. I think last year we got a couple of these games that we're going to talk about. But first and foremost, the big games, the one we've known about longest is Days Gone.
I was interested in it until I found out that it's apparently open world, and then my interest entirely evaporated in a matter of seconds, because I have extreme open world fatigue, and I do not trust this to be another Breath of the Wild.
We first saw the game at E3 2016, I think, if I remembering correctly.
Yeah, it was weird. They started it off with a trailer, went to everything else, and then ended it with like a 10-minute gameplay demo of Days Gone.
So
from Sony Bend.
Yeah.
So
the hordes and zombies and stuff looked incredible, and I would love to play like a linear Last of Us like structured kind of game of Days Gone.
A more actiony,
yeah, but
maybe more campy zombie game.
Yeah, but I don't want to play an open world version of it, so that's where my interest went.
I think I'm kind of in that same boat in a sense. Whenever we first saw the game at E3 2016, I was interested, I thought it looked cool. I was like, this could be something cool. This could be good. But then again, seeing it at E3 2017, just a year later, there were some cool things that they were doing from a technical standpoint. But I felt like it was just a lot of stuff that we've seen before. And you've got open world fatigue. I personally feel like I have a lot of zombie fatigue because we are seeing, at least like after The Walking Dead got really big, we've just seen an explosion of zombie games. Oftentimes, if I see that, if I don't already know the property, I do get kind of, I feel a little more hesitant to be interested in it.
I mean, I'm not really big into zombie games in general, and so this just seems kind of like boring to me.
I'm cautiously excited, not because of the open world fatigue or anything, but just because whenever they've showed it, there have been things that have looked off about the game, like some animations, how the game generally runs, just some worrying stuff that if it's been in development since full production since 2015, that is worrying to me.
Yeah, we're 3 years in almost
Because I fully expect this game to be out like next fall, early, like August or September, and this is not. I'm not confident about it, guys. I'm not.
And it's also in the Unreal Engine 4, so like...
Yeah, it's not a proprietary engine, which is also weird for a Sony game.
Well, it's more like, how are you not doing well at 3 years in development with software that everyone knows how to use?
There's definitely potential there, but I don't know. I want it to be more like a Horizon style good game, where it doesn't necessarily do anything different, but it's still good. But yeah, there's some things there that definitely worry me, especially if it's been in development this long.
Yeah, it was in development in January 2015, and then it got announced on E3 2016. So it was a year and a half in.
Dang.
Year and a half in of full production.
Moving on into games that have been in production for a very long time. The most recent game announced, Ghost of Tsushima, coming to us from Sucker Punch.
Also surprising.
Yeah, a bit of a surprising announcement there. I fully expected, in a lot of senses, almost another Infamous game.
That is what I 100% expected, was a sequel to Second Son.
I am, and I know Jamie is as well, personally really excited for this. I haven't even seen any gameplay yet, just the concept alone I'm in on, because I love feudal Japan, and I fucking love samurai. So, see, I'm easy. I'm so easy. So, just take me. I'm excited. I haven't even seen gameplay yet.
Make note, viewers.
Do we have gameplay yet?
No. All they've shown was that CG trailer, and they've clarified that it's going to be like open world stealth action.
Okay, I'm seeing that we're going to be seeing it at PSX. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, well, I mean, they just confirmed it's going to be there, so we'll see it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm easy. I shouldn't be excited, but I am. I can't help it.
I'm more excited that it's a new IP rather than something we've seen, because while Infamous is great, I love the series, and I think Nathaniel does too. Second Son kind of missed a couple marks for both of us in different ways. So it's almost refreshing for me to see them move and do something new. I want gameplay, which is presumably what we'll see at PSX next month.
Yeah, I really hope to see it at PSX. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. I know Jamie is.
Yep, I think Ghost will be the big fall game next year. I really do. It's been in development for like 4 years.
And I don't think you're quite as big on it just yet, Nathaniel, just because you haven't seen any gameplay yet.
Yeah, not as excited for it just because, again, I want to see something from the game outside of the teaser trailer. I think that there's a lot of potential there. I am interested in the samurai stuff as well, because that's something that video games don't really cover that often outside of a few, I guess, more niche series. And of course, I think Sucker Punch is a good developer, but they have made some less than stellar games since they kind of hit their peak with Infamous 2. We've got two more really, really big games to talk about that are coming. They don't have an official release date. We haven't seen any gameplay from them. In fact, all we've really gotten from them are sort of concept and teaser trailers. The first one, probably one of my most anticipated games currently, is The Last of Us Part 2, coming out sometime in the future. I think, have we all played The Last of Us, the original?
Yeah, it's one of my
Yeah.
favorite games.
I played probably an hour of it.
I love The Last of Us. I love Naughty Dog, at least Uncharted Naughty Dog to now. I think could be the big PlayStation game.
The teaser / trailer thing they did at the Paris game show was awesome. It was super intriguing. Also, everyone stopped complaining about the violence in it. It's The Last of Us. Go away. It's a mature game made for mature audiences. Stop complaining about the violence.
I just want to know more about the story. I want to see Joel and Ellie again. We didn't see them in the last teaser, but there's some theories. We won't get into that, but they're out there.
Definitely a lot of theories. I know I have my own theory about what the story will be. But I'm definitely looking forward to finding out more about the game, especially hopefully at PSX.
Or the Game Awards.
Or the Game Awards. Yeah, either one. That would be great.
Man, not much to say about it besides that the teaser was really intriguing.
Yeah. I hope that they do something different with the gameplay. At least something, even if it's just the same old bread and butter, that they add something to it, some sort of new concepts or puzzles or something.
Well, we'll be playing as Ellie. They've confirmed that much. I'm sure she'll play considerably different because she's a little older now. She's clearly younger than Joel, so she'll probably have her own quirks.
Yeah, I hope that there's something else there that really sets it apart. The final game that we're going to talk about today is
the most mysterious.
Yes, definitely the most mysterious. I think it is. Out of everything here, this one could be the best game ever made. It could be absolute garbage.
It's gonna be the best game ever made.
There's no telling what it could be. I think.
I am a balls to the wall Kojima fanboy. I adore him. I adore his games.
Slow down, Rick.
No,
the audience doesn't know what we're talking about.
It's Death Stranding. I gotta get to it. I love Kojima way too much. That's all I've got to say about it.
Yeah. Death Stranding, the most mysteriously weird game out there. I feel like you can say anything about this game, and you can almost say nothing, because we know so little.
All you need to know is Kojima Productions.
Yeah, all we know is Kojima. He's got Norman Reedus as one of the main characters, and it's going to be an open world action game. That's all we know.
Oh, is it open world?
Yeah, they've confirmed it's open world.
Yep, just killed it for Nathaniel. That was the talk.
It didn't kill me. It's just a little concerning there.
It's
So many open
Kojima.
world.
Trust in Kojima.
Yeah,
Metal
but
Gear
this is
Solid 5 wasn't even finished, and it was still a great game, except for the ending.
Except for the part that wasn't finished.
so trust in Kojima. It'll be great. He's already done one good open world game.
Okay, so before we go any further, Nathaniel, it is Death Stranding is an action game set in an open world environment, which also includes multiplayer functions.
That's probably like co-op or something.
Well, it's there.
Maybe.
I imagine from what if I remember correctly, the impression I got was gonna have passive multiplayer stuff like Souls does.
Okay.
I mean,
it's something.
I could be totally off base with that, but I feel
There's supposed to be a
that's
female protagonist as well, so I assume it will be co-op. That's what I fully expect.
Or we could see something like Metal Gear Solid 5's multiplayer, not the Metal Gear Online, but the actual part from Metal Gear 5.
Yeah, like
where you infiltrated bases and stuff. I mean, that's technically that's passive multiplayer.
Yeah, I was about to say that was kind of passive multiplayer as well. People would invade your base while you were doing stuff.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee saying that we're going to see something from Death Stranding at the Video Game Awards.
Oh yeah, Kojima and Jeff Keighley are like best buddies.
Yeah, I think that's a given, especially since it skipped E3. Which was a shame.
Didn't we see something for Death Stranding last year at the Game Awards?
I think
They
so.
revealed Mads Mikkelsen. Remember they had that trailer with him and Guillermo del Toro was in it.
Yeah, they had because we got 2 trailers last year, one at E3 and one at the Game Awards. So I definitely think we're gonna get something at the Game Awards this year. But
It technically started full production in early 2017, so I'd hope we see something.
2020.
No, it's going to be out before 2019, is what they said.
before 2019?
They
Well,
best be
before-
booking it.
Kojima revealed that the game would be released prior to the year in the film Akira, which was set in 2019.
Okay, so what that means is that it could come out in 2019, but
The
we'll
Kojima
inevitably
bamboozle
be
train never
developed.
stops.
Gotta
Well,
bamboozle everyone.
well, hang on.
What if
Ma-
this is actually the ending to Metal Gear Solid 5?
What if actually you need to watch Akira and analyze something within Akira to discover the actual release date?
What if this is actually just an Akira game
And
being
what
made
Yeah.
by Kojima?
and what if he's not referring to the film, but he's referring to the manga of Akira, and there's a sequence of numbers hidden somewhere on a panel somewhere, and that's the release date.
Well, that's all the announced games from Sony coming out in the near future. Anything, or at least the big ones, anything that you guys might want to see, I guess from now until, 2020 would probably be reasonable?
Yeah. We're going to get a Horizon sequel in the next 3 years.
Horizon One Dawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, Horizon First Dawn. There you go.
Oh, there we go!
Yeah,
Perfect!
hire me, Sony. I'm available.
Or we could do Horizon 0.1, and then it would start doing like Kingdom Hearts stuff.
No, never again.
Final chapter.
Horizon Zero Chapter First Prologue.
Redux.
And Knuckles.
Yeah.
Featuring Dante from Devil May Cry.
Horizon Zero Dawn First Prologue featuring Dante and Knuckles.
HD Redux.
Turbo Edition.
But yeah,
That's-
I fully expect the Horizon sequel in probably 2020. Put it on a 3-year development cycle. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I can foresee that. Especially since, they got this expansion out now, which will probably be the end of support for the game.
I wouldn't mind. And the
I just
thing, I
want-
don't know how you would feel about it. I wouldn't mind seeing another Infamous come from a different studio, like maybe Sony London or something. See what they could do.
I would like a new Infamous, but after Second Son, I don't know. The
Oh no,
gameplay
I
is still
agree with
great.
that.
The gameplay is still great, but
The story's just not as good.
yeah, they've already hit their pinnacle with the good storyline of Infamous 2. So
Yep.
I'm
I
still,
I would
I'm
I would
still-
love an Infamous 3. That would be like a prequel to 1 and 2. But other than that, I don't know how I'd feel about a follow up to Infamous.
I'm still waiting on that Legend of Dragoon sequel. Hit me up, Sony, or a prequel. Legend of Dragoon's story has a really good opportunity for a prequel. Come on,
Legend of Dragoon, first chapter, Redux.
first chapter prologue. Said
HD.
it during the Dragoon campaign. Come on, Sony. I'm the only one that's played this game here. I'm probably the only person that's played this game anywhere. Please, do it for me.
I also wouldn't mind an Until Dawn sequel.
Maybe something, or maybe something like a sequel, a
Like
follow up.
not a direct sequel, but it's Until Dawn subtitle something.
Maybe. I don't know about you guys, but PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale 2.
No.
would
Yeah,
be
let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's.
Yeah, it's ironic that you say that because Dart from Legend of Dragoon was supposed to be a DLC character for Battle Royale, and it didn't
It's
happen.
all connected.
And it didn't happen because that game crashed and burned. So
look,
goddamn it.
Obviously, guys.
Did we all play All Stars? Did we all play it a little bit?
a little.
I tried to get like a free copy of it, so
As Jamie said,
I
all this is
think-
connected. If we get Battle Royale
Yeah.
2, that means Dart's going to be in it, and then
Yeah,
it will
it's all
have a
connected.
resurgence of popularity, and then we'll get Legend of Dragoon 2. So yes,
and that will
I
be the
want,
new Fire Emblem.
I want Battle Royale 2. That's what I want. I'm with Nathaniel.
guys, obviously, Titus from Final Fantasy X will make it into the game. He is the most popular Sony-branded Final Fantasy character that hasn't been in a Super Smash Brothers game.
Oh yeah, it's just
Yeah,
like
right alongside
just
Big
like
Daddy.
the famous Sony character Big Daddy from BioShock.
And the famous Sony character Raiden
Isaac from Destiny.
from Metal Gear Rising. Anyways, that's about all we can really say for Sony. I think I think the future. I mean, this year I think has been a bit underwhelming, but I think Sony's been underwhelming this gen entirely for me. I think their slate of games looks good, but a lot of their really good stuff we just don't know a lot about for me, and the stuff we do know a lot about is kind of boring.
Well, they didn't really start hitting with the exclusives until Bloodborne, which was early 2015, but we won't talk too much about it.
We got a lot of room for improvement.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think especially given how, at least with the PlayStation 3, you could kind of tell by the time Uncharted 2 came out and it was a big success that Sony started really pushing their IPs into making the PlayStation a very big, important system. It almost feels like they've gotten a little lazier this generation.
Well, they've also sold a lot of,
Yes.
of units. So I think they're like, we'll take a rest and wait until the other guys get close to us, you know?
Part of me wonder if it's really laziness or just the fact that games just take forever to make now.
Oh, well, Jamie,
Maybe.
you obviously know they're just super expensive to make.
Yeah.
So,
I would
Can't wait
agree.
for loot boxes in Ghost of Tsushima.
I would agree with that statement that games are that they're just taking too much longer. But
Like,
Sony
I'm not
has
using that as an excuse. I'm just saying maybe that's part of it.
yeah, it could be, but they just have just so many games, I think, or so many studios that they can do that with. All right, guys. So real quick before we finish up the podcast, what's everybody doing? What games are you playing? TV shows are you watching? Books you're reading? Whatever you do in your free time that isn't related to
Reading books?
entertainment.
hey, fight me.
But I've just been watching a lot of anime. I decided to hold off on game playing until I get my new television coming in, which will be in a few days, thankfully. But everyone go watch My Hero Academia. It's fantastic.
What about that Death Parade, Rick?
I just finished Death Parade right before we started this. That was also a great show. Go watch that as well.
Damn right it is.
And this episode is brought to you by Crunchyroll, your
Shut
one-stop
up.
streaming source for anime. Oh God.
What have you been playing, Nathaniel? Tell us about you.
Well, we're not going to get into too many details, but I just started up Pokemon the other day. I've been playing a bit of that, and then I finally finished Dragon Ball GT the other day, and
Oh,
I
you
watched. I did, and I watched season 3 of Rick and Morty. So I'm getting ready to start season 2 of Attack on Titan. I'm going to be doing a little bit of anime myself over the next couple of weeks.
How about you, Dakota?
I am slowly reading books that I have purchased over the past, 5 years. And I just want to finish Monogatari, so because there's a lot to it.
What would you say was the best year for books, Dakota? In your opinion?
Damn. You know what? We're gonna have to make a new one about this because
I think
we got some time for that
Introducing
one.
the spin-off Boycast series.
The Beautiful Boycast.
I believe 1189 had some of the best literature of the Dark Ages.
Yeah,
Some of the best literature of the Dark Ages.
I'm pretty partial to 1657 myself.
Well, what about you, Jamie? What have you been dicking around with?
It's funny. I've been playing Far Cry 3. Bought it forever ago. Put like 10 hours into it. Dropped it. I'm jumping into it to finish it and playing Pokemon Moon on the side. I never beat
just
it
now
either.
playing Moon.
I got it last year for Christmas. Put 15 hours into it and dropped it.
That's
But-
more than I did.
Yeah, but I'm getting back into it, so I'm just playing it and Far Cry. Going to start season 1 of The Punisher tonight on Netflix. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, and we've got at least at the time of this recording, Black Friday coming up. So lots of good game deals coming very soon. Hopefully, putting some more games on our shelves this weekend.
Mhm.
Anyways, guys, I think that about wraps it up. Anything else you want to say about what's going on and everything?
Well, I died playing RuneScape just a second ago, so I was a little bummed about that.
Fuck Battlefront 2.
Oh yeah, that too.
That's what I have to say. I'm gonna pirate that game as soon as the single player is cracked. Fuck you, EA.
Hey, you won't even be getting a full story, Rick. So it's not like you can feel bad.
Yeah, I'm not even getting a whole game. I'm just getting half of a story.
I have a quick confession. I actually lost against. They're not the gym leaders, but the first trial captain in their battle. I actually lost against them in Ultra Sun.
Nice.
I blacked out.
Did you get
This guy's supposed to be
steamrolled by Milk Tank?
No, it was a miracle.
This guy's supposed to be the pro Pokemon player.
It had water gun and it took my team down. So.
Wait, I forgot. Are you Fire Kitten?
Yeah, I went with Litten for this playthrough.
Okay, well, shit. So sorry to hear that.
Let us know how much you want me to die for hating Horizon, or how much you want Nathaniel to die for hating God of War.
Well, I think once I make my next big video, 10 reasons why God of War sucks, I think they'll know.
You'll get some death threats from people that don't like it.
Give me all of your Horizon death threats.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening in on this beautiful, beautiful episode of the Beautiful Boycast. We appreciate it. If you want to be a beautiful boy, be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a comment on what you thought of this discussion, as well as what you want us to talk about next time. So again, just sounding off, I'm Nathaniel. I've been your host.
I'm Rick. Remember that you're all beautiful.
I'm Dakota, and this is the fucking cringiest outro.
You're welcome.
No, I'm Jamie. Hugs, not drugs.
God. All right. Thanks for listening,
We're
guys.
straight edge here.
God, if only Sony had a handheld system that they could put these less than stellar big titles on, we would be.
If only there was. Maybe they could even name it something like PlayStation Life, something like that. If they had something like that.
That's a magazine. We can't use that name.
Well, okay, if they can't use that name, then how about like maybe another language, like something that evokes life, vitality.
And and it would be the thing would be structured around like in hand mechanics, so it's like you can touch it and stuff.
Yeah, and like you could tilt it. Like if only Sony did a system like that.
That'd be really cool. It'd probably go somewhere if they gave it software.
Guys, I've got it. The Sony Xperia phone. We'll put NAC on there, free to play mobile game. You connect all the colored fruits and you win.
It's a good thing. It's a good.
You can only play 5 times a day.
It's a good thing that Jamie had to step out for a moment, or he'd be really triggered right now. Jamie, can you remember this handheld that Sony had that they could have put NAC 2 on, like for their smaller games that aren't as big? Do you remember that they had some kind of other platform? I can't remember. It was like PlayStation Vitality or something.
Those are all the thoughts I have on NAC 2.